Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to another edition of Friday F4. It is the last week in January. 1/12 of the year is already gone. Can you believe it? And as always, I am with Amanda Van Deerheiden. Amanda, happy end of January.
Hi, everyone. Last day of the month. Very exciting.
So today we wanted to follow up on a theme that we have started the beginning of the year, and that is holding us accountable, both professionally and personally in some realms. How do you know you had a good month? So it is the end of the month. And have you attained or reached the goals that you set out January 1st or January 3rd or 5th or whenever you started back at work in the new year? So, Amanda, how did your month go?
It was a good one, but it flew by. So, one of the things that we want to talk to you about today, like Jim mentioned, is at the beginning of the month, we talked about setting goals, setting smarter goals, and how to make sure that you're doing them correctly and setting yourself up for success. And now that it's the last day of the month, we need to talk about evaluation. How are we evaluating our results? How are we assessing ourselves, our successes, our wins, and our losses? And one of the things we want to talk about, because this is a very common thing that Jim and I hear, especially for a new year, is I want a new job this year. I want a career change. And one of the things I thought about was, a lot of people talk about job or career shifts, but they don't talk about career maps. And one of the things we wanted to talk about with you today is, do you have a career map? Not just what's your current job and what do you want your next one to be, but what do you see your trajectory? For younger people, that might mean where they want to end up in the long term. They might not know, but they might have a goal that they're aiming towards. For people who are 20, 30 years into their career, that might be, when do they plan on retiring? When do they want to, go out on their own, or whatever the case may be. So a career path is really critical to not just assess where you're at, but it's going to, like Jim talks about with a map, give you the instructions and help you inform decisions that might be smaller or more immediate than the overall. Jim, how have you seen career maps used?
So, career maps are something that you can either work with a individual, yourself, or a group, or a coach. It is something in which you lay out where you are today, where you'd like to be 3 months from now, 6 months from now, a year from now, 3 years, 5 years from now. Career mapping, like any type of mapping, helps you to get from point A to point B. And it's something that you can use as a metric point to help you along your path to see if you're actually maintaining the kind of progress that you anticipated when you laid out that map. So unless you have one, um, what you're going to find is you may become stagnant in your current position because we get busy, we get tied up, we end up doing the minutia of everyday work that we need to do, and we lose sight of the big picture. But the mapping progress or process helps us keep our eye on that big picture.
Absolutely. So here are some questions you can ask yourself to help drive this. What are your priorities? Where are you currently spending your time? It's month end. You should be able to audit yourself and know where you spent your time this month. What are your strengths and weaknesses? What are your potential outcomes of those? So, you want to think through where your priorities are, what you can delegate, what you can automate, and where you're spending your time and where you should be spending your time. That's another important one that people don't always have the strategy in place to figure out. Yes, I'm just putting out fire drill after fire drill. I'm just going with it. I'm just in survival mode. Well, in survival mode, you're not thriving. So the next thing I want to talk about is you want to do an in-depth self-assessment. So you should be absolutely, if you set your goals up correctly, if you did your smarter goals at the beginning of this year, like we talked about, you'll easily be able to say, did I achieve this? Yes or no. It should be a checkbox. Yes, this happened. No, this did not happen. Yes, this happened. Great. No, this didn't happen. Why? Why didn't this happen? It's important. It's important not to just focus on the strengths and the wins of our month, because that's very important, but it's also important to see where we fell down, how we can adjust, how we can make better goals in the future, and more importantly, what prevented us from reaching that goal so that we can try to remove that roadblock in the future. Jim, anything to add on that one?
No, I think you hit it perfectly on that, and that is just understand that your career and where you take your career is, other than family and maybe health, one of the most important decisions you can make. So using all aspects of mapping, of just whatever you can find out there to help you get to that next level is extremely important. And truly, just to put it in this perspective, if you were a minor league baseball player, your career coaching, your progression to AA, to AAA, to the major leagues, that would all be planned out for you. There would be certain metrics that you would need to attain in order to get that shot at the highest level available in that sport. So think of your career like that and understand that is one of the reasons you would want to lay this mapping out for yourself.
Yes. And to Jim's point, the important thing when you analyze and when you evaluate where you're at is that you can identify your gaps. You can understand what kind of training you need, what kind of additional support do you need. And that is another amazing reason to make sure that you're doing your evaluations so you know where you are and what you need to help you get to the next level. Another great point about evaluating is the fact that you can document your successes. So this will help you in your day job, but it also helps in your life. And you want to make sure that you're acknowledging and documenting your wins, because at the end of it's January. Come December, you're not going to remember what you accomplished in January, more than likely. But if you have it documented, this was my evaluation of January, these were my wins, you'll have a much easier time with your end of year reviews, but also you'll see the progress you've made, because you'd be surprised at how much effort goes in and how much you've accomplished that you'll forget about by Q2 or Q3 of this year. So the evaluation process is good from a short-term perspective, but also from the long-term perspective of make sure you're documenting your wins. And one last piece that we want to talk about is that, let's say you sit down, you do your evaluation, you either feel overwhelmed, you feel like you have not accomplished what you wanted to accomplish. Jim and I offer services to help you. We have coaching services in our practices that will help you get to the next level. You don't have to do it alone. Please reach out to us. We're here to be your accountability partner, to hold your feet to the fire, and to help you up your game.
Correct. And understanding your goals and your big wins for the month. Again, I use this analogy a lot, but if you're trying to get from New York to LA, you can simply go west, hit the Pacific Ocean, make a decision whether you go north or south, and you'll find it. But if you're documenting your trip, if you know you need to be at a certain place at a certain time, and then from there you go somewhere else, you can look back at your trip and you can see, I actually made really good time between New York and Pittsburgh and Ohio. You have a roadmap of where you've been from New York to LA. And it's the same thing with your career. Documenting your successes allows you to create that roadmap, which will also help you when you're looking at that next level in your career progression, because you'll actually be able to go back and say, these were the highlights of my career last year. These are why I believe I deserve to go to that next step. So it is something that, as Amanda said, you can do it on your own. It takes work, it takes discipline, and sometimes it makes sense to bring in a partner that can help you with the process, hold you accountable, but also someone that can help listen to you and help you identify what those successes are. We're here to help. And Amanda, anything else before we close out the week?
That's it. And also, of course, to Jim's point, you can always, if you're tracking as you go, you'll be able to make corrections, improve the strategy when you see that you're not quite hitting your milestones. So we're here to help. Please reach out. We hope you have a great end of the month, and we look forward to speaking to you in February.
And everybody, as always, thank you for listening and thank you for watching. Our community is growing larger every week, and our new website is up. It's still under construction, but we are adding informative information all the time, and that's www.friday@at4, the number 4.net, friday@4.net. And thanks to everyone. Have a great week, and we look forward to seeing you next Friday, Friday at 4.